You can't do wrong things and then sit there and imagine we will just, yeah, amen, hallelujah. No, we'll smoke you out. We demonstrated when Alexander Muge was killed because we knew government was involved. We demonstrated when Robert Ouko was killed. Why did they kill him? Young people, you are not the leaders of tomorrow. Let nobody ever, ever convince you about waiting for tomorrow. You lead. We have some of the most useless governments without ideology, without knowledge, without clue. They're just in office to loot. If I had a gun and I was told this is someone who has continually messed this country for 15 years out, in 2022, I ran, except for the useless IEBC. That if there was one message that we would like to leave with the people of Kenya, with the people of Africa, with the people all over the world, it is that there is hope. This vacuum is too big. Unless God intervenes, I am done. Those of you who have lost, the will to go on again and the will to sing, I'm asking the Lord to put the song back, And there I was thinking I was writing my last album, If you listen to the lyrics that I write around this period, 1999 to 2001, there is a cycle of nihilistic thinking. So I just began to write material expressing what was going on inside, Never Alone, highway material, I've Been Searching, Sweet Bunyore, that's when it was, Do You Remember Me? And back to my childhood. Now, how did I navigate? I would say I don't think I can say anything negative about Bunyore and how they dealt with persons living with disability. Not that I recall. I'm not saying it's not there. Never heard of it.
Not any witchcraft of sorts? There was no blaming the neighbor for the misfortunes of one family?
So that's different, isn't it? Now we're going into matters of faith, isn't it? So whether there was witchcraft in Bunyore, of course they talked about...
Not really, but in connection to what happened.
Oh, you mean opinions? So like the reason for somebody being challenged?
Yep.
Yeah, those exist. Some people think you are cursed. Some people think, the neighbor is responsible and so on, but that is neither here nor there. The end result is you are, challenged.
Uh-huh. So I'm interested to know what kind of mother she was, because many people succumb
Now let me tell you about my mother. So number one, quite a prayer person, I can still hear her voice in the morning at 5 a.m., sometimes 5:30. But it was always before light. And she was always praying for each of us by name, including my dad, members of the family, the sick in the village. She does that to this very day at 91. And I can tell you for sure that even when she visits me with my family in Eldoret, she still will wake up early in the morning. And you'll hear her voice in the hallway or in her room. So you want to know about my mother? She's a praying lady, absolutely, and that's one thing I really thank God for. Secondly, like I said, she was a disciplinarian par excellence. No nonsense. If you uttered a curse word or you insulted somebody or you maltreated somebody, you would face the music. If you took something you were not supposed to take, you would be beaten, with sticks properly. And if you tried to run, she will run after you. So she was a disciplinarian and very, very strong on issues of how you treated others and even what you thought of other people. You know, if you said so and so is this and that, she would tell you something like, but you know, you can't talk negatively about other people. You have problems of your own, you know, things like that. So I guess that really rubbed on me, because I feel the same. If you try to malign somebody or try to mistreat somebody, I feel it deeply. Yeah, so that rubbed on me. The third thing about my mother is that she was very patient. My father, being absentee many times, meant that you know, she was left with us, 7 of us, by herself. Very resilient and patient and never giving up. I think that toughening rubbed on us as well. Through lack and plenty, you know, she stayed a very balanced person. And then she was very hardworking, the fourth thing. That for me is probably one of the greatest memories, because she was, you know, she would work with her hands, molding pots, you know, so pottery was her trade. She would then bake the pots and sell them, and we would have food, and we would have school fees, and we would have clothes, and so on. She worked very hard. She worked hard on the farm, I mean, on the shamba. She worked hard. Anytime, you know, you came to visit, she was working during the day. Sometimes she would be working right into the night. I mean, we're all asleep. She's still finyangering those pots. So that hardworking culture, again, rubbed on me. If you ever received an email from me, then you'll have the footer reading something like this. This is my footer. Rome was not built in one day because I was not the supervisor. Yeah, you get what that means? What do you think it means?
It was not built in one day
because I, Reuben, was not the supervisor.
Because if you supervise, it would have been done
yes,
in one day.
in one day. That's the implication. Because I don't like procrastination. No. Mm-hmm. And the Germans say this: whatever you can do today, don't leave for tomorrow. That is my philosophy of work. So laziness puts me off. Kukaa tu hapo unang'ethia, you know, it puts me off. That's one reason I don't like betting. I like to work for what I have. That's one reason I really feel affected when I find, especially young people in my village, seated there just drinking or puffing away at cannabis. I mean, I feel awful. Yeah.
This is programming from your mother. You feel this is a software. This is something that was you draw from her.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can relate to it. I don't know whether hardworking genes or work genes are transferred, but certainly in terms of socialization, I think it rubbed on me that you know, if you are sleeping too long, unless you are sick or unless you stayed up the previous night, if you are sleeping too long, she would come and, hey, why are you still in bed? You know, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, and I think those rudiments and values are really neat. So, I mean, I count them neat. Yeah.
I'm looking at the significance of family. Mm-hmm. Your first socialization and interaction from your parents and what you borrow, what you draw from them. Mm-hmm. If, before we transition into the next part of this conversation, I want you to just draw something like a conclusion to that chapter of this conversation on the role of the family and how that shapes the people we become later on in life.
Oh yeah, that's a critical comment there. There are no two ways about it, the way I see it. The family is the first institution you are socialized in. So it will shape what you eat in life. It will shape your language, what you speak for the most part. I mean, you could always pick up other languages, including foreign languages. But by language, I also mean the kind of tone you adopt when speaking with people, the kind of words you use or don't use. I mean, if you grow up with your parents using curse words all the while, you will certainly grow up using those curse words. Unless you go through like a conversion, like I did, with my faith, because faith also tends to shape. But faith now belongs to the next institution, that is the church.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Then there is school. Then you have, your workplace, and so all these institutions affect who you are. But yes, the family shapes your food, your language, your dress, your relations. It shapes, indeed, your thinking, the way you look at life,
Uh-huh.
and so on.
Uh-huh.
Just for an example, if you grew up with scarcity, then you tend to learn how to share more, because you become a little bit more careful with the little that you have. If you grew up with plenty, you tend to scatter. You tend to be a little careless. Not all the time, but by way of general principle.
What extra attention were you able to get from your family that gave you impetus into the attitude that you enjoy today? Especially at your childhood. What extra support from your siblings and your parents did you enjoy?
I don't think it's extra.
That you're thankful.
Okay, so something I'm thankful for, but I don't count it as extra, because that's their nature, you see. The way they handled me, that's who they are. It's not like now they discovered Reuben is blind, so now let us start treating him in a particular way. The way they treated me before I became blind is the same way they treat me even to this day. In fact, in a sense, I would say it brings out their character, that nothing can really change them as a family. So if I was to single out one thing, it would be that they are really loving people. Both my parents and siblings, they are loving, they're caring, and that is rare. That is very, very rare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that is something you enjoyed.
Of course.
I want us to shift a little bit, and I want just to throw you to a different area and figure and let you figure your way out. Would you say that the disadvantage you got, which I know you will not accept, you might not accept that you got a disadvantage, but would you say that the disadvantage you got played a major role into whom you are today?
Yes and no. Yes, because there is a sense in which visual disability changed or disrupted my previous life. But no, because adaptation takes place. And so to imagine a different Reuben Kigame without a visual handicap is impossible. Yeah, because if I am going to be Reuben Kigame, then I need to have had a visual handicap at 4 years. So I can only comment on the Reuben Kigame that is blind from 4. But in retrospect, perhaps one could say that a Reuben, imagining a Reuben Kigame without a visual handicap is probably a dangerous thing.
Uh-huh.
Because looking at what I am capable of with a visual handicap makes me scared of what I could do without it. I discovered early that I'm very radical. And so if I believe in something, even if I'm the only one who believes it, I will die with it. You can't quite change me except that you do two things. You convert both my head and my heart. If the two don't see each other, you cannot change me. And that is why, even for my faith, for example, being a Christian, Christianity has to make sense here and here. For me, Christianity is not just feelings. You know, I feel like praying. I feel like God exists. No, I'll ask the hard question. Where is the evidence that God exists? So my head would have to be convinced. What is prayer? I need to understand what prayer is for me to pray. I just don't follow things as they are. So, for example, you've seen me take very strong positions on the country of Kenya.
Uh-huh.
You know, I live very black and white, right, wrong, you know, good, bad. And so if you lie to me, for example, I'll just tell you you're a liar. I mean, there's no, if we can define what a lie is and you lie, I'll call you a liar. Mm-hmm. And so that is one. But two, I would say that the change that took place in my life when I became a Christian in particular changed my worldview. You see, I was a very liberal person before, but now I have a perspective that looks to the supernatural, God and His work in me and in the world. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's a very philosophical
No, it just means that I was different from who I am today as a Christian. You know, before being a Christian, it just means that anything went. I could do whatever I wanted without restrictions, But now I look to God. What does God say? That is as simple as it gets. Yeah. We can philosophize, of course, if you want, but the simple thing is my life changed. Yeah, completely.
And you're looking at change from the perspective of
everything. Everything. The way I think, the way I speak, the way I eat, the way I drink, the way I dress, everything. Everything changed. Mm-hmm. The way I relate to people, what I read, what I don't read, what I like or don't like, everything changed. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was a revolution. Yeah, from someone who hated God to someone who loved God. I mean, that's, if you can think of a revolution, that is as revolutionary as it gets. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've mentioned something about being very radical.
Yes, I am radical. That I'll accept.
But there was a period in 1999, mm-hmm. if I'm not wrong, mm-hmm. which you've stated in the past that you felt lost. Mm-hmm. Are you able to describe some of the circumstances that went on at that time?
1999. Yeah, that's an interesting memory because I guess I was 33 then.
Uh-huh. Close to my age now.
Oh, okay, great. So now at 33, there's some questions that were going through my mind. One is Jesus died at 33, having accomplished so much. And I was asking myself, I'm 33, what is it I've really accomplished? I want to accomplish more. And I was always feeling tired. My hands always feeling tired. I want to do this, I can't do it. I want to move this. So, for example, in the mid-90s, I really wanted to have a recording studio. And somebody was going to sell all this equipment to me, but the bank refused to give me the loan. I couldn't afford it.
You were at TAC at that time?
No. I'd already resigned. So I wanted to venture into, sort of tear the skies and be my own person. But everywhere there were limitations, and, people did not understand who Reuben Kigame wanted to be. Even sometimes I would write to organizations like KNHCR. I had written songs about refugees and so on. As for their production support, they were not willing. So I decided to be me because I felt misunderstood by society, a society I loved very much, a country I really, really cherished, a church I really loved. So I felt a crisis setting in because I was not becoming who I wanted to be. And by the year 2000, this had begun to get to a crescendo because of my background in philosophy. I was now asking the hard questions. The questions about meaning of life, questions about destiny, the questions about identity. There are times I would travel out of the country and recognize that I was treated really badly because of my African origin. And so all those questions pushed me to a crescendo of meaning. And so there's a season right into 2001 when I was feeling awfully meaningless. And if you listen to the lyrics that I write around this period, 1999 to 2001, there is a cycle of nihilistic thinking, emptiness, vacuum stuff. Quite different from 1991 to 94, when I was mostly writing patriotic stuff. And different from 1995, 96 to 99 was when I put out a lot of worship material. That's when I wrote my first worship album. And so if you can picture this, that the patriotic productions, the worship productions, were getting me to still feel a vacuum inside of me. So I just began to write material expressing what was going on inside, Never Alone, highway material, I've Been Searching, Sweet Bunyore, that's when it was, Do You Remember Me? And Back to My Childhood, and things like that. And finally, on the worship side of things, that's when I wrote Ombi Langu, that's when I wrote Enda Nasi, and in particular coming to a time when I was just feeling this vacuum is too big. Unless God intervenes, I am done, So I was reading Exodus 33 and the prayer of Moses, and he's saying, when God tells them, let's move on. Moses says, unless you're moving with us, there's really no point moving. So for me, I would say that return to scripture really sort of catapulted me out of that vacuum state. But I was also traveling a lot, and so at one time I was visiting with a friend of mine in Indiana called Bill Bean. God bless his soul. He's gone to be with the Lord now, but he introduced me to a lot of different worship material, including some of the material by Don Moi that I had not really heard. And one of those nights of hopelessness, I was just listening to Don Moi, and there's a song he's written called I Will Sing. And he goes, during the recording, those of you who have lost, the will to go on again, and the will to sing, I'm asking the Lord to put the song back, And there I was thinking I was writing my last album, on the countryside, Never Alone, but on the worship side, I was doing the imvaluable album. And amazing how God takes those little efforts and turns them around into a blessing for other people. So Enda Nasi has become a big song, loved by so many people. Sina Mungu Mwingine has become a big song. Enda Nasi, Ombi Langu itself has become a big song. So there is a sense in which God takes those little things, even praise songs like Baba Yetu, I think God took that album and decided, Reuben, I'm going to show you what I can do with brokenness. Yeah.
The lessons, Kevin said, the lessons learned in pain are eternal. If I can quote him.
Yes, I agree.
Would you say that there is a correlation between the albums that you did at that time and the fact that you were in pain and in emptiness, and that's why some of those songs came out really nice? Because you were more reflective, more imaginative?
Not really. I would say yes and no again, because God uses pain for the same reason he will use pleasure. It's all for his glory. So I would say there is a purpose for pain and there is a purpose for pleasure. There are songs I have written that are, pleasure stuff, excited about God. So life is not just gloomy. You don't get the greatest songs out of gloom only. You also get them out of celebrating life, like the faithfulness of God. Mshukuruni Bwana kwa kuwa ni mwema. That's a big song, but it's not a woye woye song. Yeah, it's not tears and makamasi song. Sure. Sure. A song like Huniachi is a song of confidence. Yeah, given what God himself has said. As we speak, I think we are at about 22 million views, which tells you it's a big song of sorts, but it's not out of a crisis. No. It can minister in situations of crisis and challenge and so on, but it's a celebration of the abiding presence of God. Yeah.
I want you to go back to 1999, that period, the period of emptiness, because many young people don't survive that period. A time comes in life when you feel things are stagnating. You are anticipating to make a lot of money. You are anticipating your businesses to pick up within a very short time, but things are not working out.
Right.
And many hearts get broken. People lose hope. Some even commit suicide. How did you survive it? If you were to pinpoint a few things that made you survive that period and rose again.
So let me attack the question from the front. So let me go to the conclusion first. First, nobody should ever be made to be in that state. Society should never allow any young person to go into a state of helplessness or hopelessness. Now, that's the difference between the way I look at leadership and the way most people look at leadership. You say, this is happening, this data is telling us this. And so you look at life descriptively. You're just describing things the way they are. I look at life prescriptively. In other words, if I find a young person that is lonely or out of school, I don't blame the young person first. I go to the root. How did that young person end up discouraged, brokenhearted? What happened? What could have been done? You see? So, for example, Kenya is always throwing around these statistics of how many children are not going to school. Like recently, they threw out a statistic of 300,000 children that did not make it to Form 1. And so we just, that is news, that is what. I say, nonsense. It should never happen because we have everything that it takes to make each and every of those children be in school. We have got it. We have it. We have the money, we have the space, we have the will in some of us. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, I don't accept anyone to go through what they can avoid. Whether it's cancer, it's related to cuisine and lifestyle. We can change. I mean, we'll not take care of every one of them, but we can prevent a whole lot. Uh-huh. If it is, for example, lack of school fees or lack of rent, you blame the leaders for mismanaging the economy. Yeah. So there is no bad happening in society that is uncaused. There is a cause. Even what you call the acts of God, some of them should never be called the acts of God. Things like flooding. You see, the recent floods?
Accidents.
Some accidents can be prevented. Most of them, actually. Yeah. If you just did a dual carriage, for example, from Mombasa to Malaba, it is common knowledge you will reduce accidents. Yeah. If you can maintain traffic rules, if you can, I can give you examples. If you can do proper allocations, if you stop borrowing and putting people into all these debts, you'd have enough to go around. So, since this is a leadership forum, I'll just put it out point blank. There are people who are in leadership that should never be near leadership. There are people that have been in leadership messing up so long that they should be shot and killed. Yes, because of making people's lives miserable. If I had a gun and I was told this is someone who has continually messed this country for 15 years, I would shoot them. Yes, to rid the society of continued pressure, sadness, loneliness, stress, and so on. Yes. Now, how did I navigate? I would say my faith really helped me to be able to pull through. You see, even by the time I'm crying out to God, I'm still able to go back to scriptures and find answers. So my faith saved my life. Number two, my upbringing, the resilience that my mother and by proxy or by flip side, my dad, because he put me through a lot of stress and, my siblings. So that resilience paid back because I didn't take a rope to hang myself, although I was tempted to. So I kept going. And then the love bonus that I received from my nuclear family, my wife and children and so on, helped me a great deal to still come home and I see my children and I say, I can face tomorrow. The education, for example, being able to read, Socrates or Plato or Aristotle, or Saint Augustine, and make sense out of some of what he was saying. Blaise Pascal, for example, wrote Pensées that talked a lot about vacuum science. So my faith pitted against someone like Pascal gave me the philosophical muscle to reject the negative nihilism that was being pushed out by people like Friedrich Nietzsche. So I ended up being saved by the resilience, the faith, the academics, and certainly the love that I received from my family.
If you were to mention people, places, and actions, specific actions that you took during that time that helped you come out of that situation, what would you mention? I'm very much interested.
Taking coffee, drinking guava juice, traveling, having conversations, tough conversations with my friends. Yes.
People. Are you able to mention specific people whom, if you look back?
There's a gentleman in Nairobi called Maingi Kubai that reasons deeply, like I do, sometimes more than me. And so bouncing off ideas, with him. Even to this day, when I have like an intellectual block or a faith crisis, I'll rush to Maingi and say, kaa hapa tuende tukunywe kahawa. Let's talk. And we talk man to man, hard stuff, open. We don't mince anything. Yeah. Somebody else that I keep going back to is dead, but he wrote a lot of books, called C.S. Lewis. And C.S. Lewis was a candid writer. He wrote books like The Problem of Pain, wrote books like Surprised by Joy, books like Mere Christianity, The Great Divorce, Screwtape Letters, and so you have all these Narnia things from fictional dimension, but it's more than fiction actually when you look at the text. Then you have him wrestling with different questions, whether it's miracles or the possibility of Christianity or the absurdity of it and so on. So Josh McDowell, Harry Blumeers, certainly St. Augustine, that influenced me a lot. Occasionally, I read critical people like David Hume and Immanuel Kant. So there is a sense in which I find refuge in knowledge and exposure in terms of the intellect, but also the inspiration of resilience from people like Mandela, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Dietrich Bonhoeffer from Germany, Martin Luther himself, the reformer, and I could speak of Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah. These people inspire me. I mention more foreigners like Nyerere and
What of Ngugi?
and Kwame. Yes, Ngugi is a great guy, and Chinua Achebe and so on, and Okot Pibitek. Those are great writers. But I'm never inspired by Kenyatta. I mean, he's written some things. Facing Mount Kenya is anthropology, but written from a very tribal angle. No wonder. I mean, do you know anything else Kenyatta wrote besides Facing Mount Kenya? So it's not very inspiring. But how about I tell you about Education for Self-Reliance by Nyerere? Yes. So you have Tanzanian writers like Sheikh Shaban Robert, writing books like Kusadikika and Kufikirika. Those are great books.
You've drawn heavily from reading.
Yes.
And it's something that is going down. The younger generation are no longer reading as much. Are they?
Some more than others. Yeah, I would agree with you. We are beginning to lose the reading culture. But I must add, I don't blame the young people.
Who is to blame?
I blame the schools, and I blame the governments.
Why?
I am in politics because I want to change government. We have some of the most useless governments, without ideology, without knowledge, without clue. They're just in office to loot. Yeah. And you know where you go to school shapes who you are.
Yeah.
So if you find a political party without an ideology, they are run like briefcase clubs. I don't have very kind words on bad governance because it can be avoided. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I want to change it. And I will change it. Kenya will change in my lifetime. It will change in my lifetime. And it is changing as we go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm very passionate about value-based, accountable servant leadership. Mm-hmm. Yes.
In a major way, that is the quarters you would blame for the things that I had mentioned regarding the
young people in particular. So, for example, if young people are not reading, and we were young and we were reading, then you have to ask what changed.
What happened? Yeah.
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 The school system, the education system, the literacy emphasis, and so on changed. I mean, you have ministers coming in and telling you that the arts are useless. Today they say we want more sciences. Tomorrow they say we want more arts. Then they come again and say now we want education more practical. That is the same thing they were saying of 844.
Mm-hmm. They charter 12 universities in one day and then shift to pivot.
So the number of universities is not the problem. It's that these institutions, and particularly the Ministry of Education, is run by dunderheads. People who are there clueless of what education is all about, while all these reports rot on the shelves. You know, the Ominde Commission, you have all these great commissions. Even when it comes to land, you have the Ndungu report, everything. Research done, dusted. You don't look at them, you're a dunderhead. I mean, how do you, even in terms of appointing government, how do you take somebody who is clueless in agriculture to run an agriculture ministry? How do you take a medical doctor to run at the education docket? It's nonsense when all these professionals are here. I would look for the greatest educated education experts and pick one of them to run the education ministry. Simple. It's not about crony. You know who gave you more money for the campaign. That kind of thuggery must go. You go and run your own company like that. Go run your home. Don't even run your home like that. You'll affect your children. Run your own kiosk like that. But never a country. You can't run, the home of 55 million people like your personal, shop. No.
You've tried politics several times, 2013, 2022.
I have not tried politics. I am a politician.
Okay,
when I first learned that there is Russia and America, there is Nigeria and Kenya and Tanzania, right to when I got exposed to current affairs, right to when I tried to lead a strike in school, right to when, I picked up magazines that Moi did not like in his day, and we had to hide them between clothes. That is me in university, because we wanted Moi out. So I'm not trying politics.
You've done it.
Politics is, everybody must be interested in politics because it's about distribution of resources.
This strike in university, you were leading?
Not university. I said high school.
Oh, high school, sorry.
Yes.
You led a strike in university? Was it a special school? In high school?
Yes, I did.
Was it a special school or was it a regular?
It had both blind and sighted students.
But you were the one leading the team?
Yeah, why not? Why okay?
You had mentioned that you are a radical person.
No, but if you are doing something wrong, I'll tell you you're doing something wrong. Yeah.
You've mentioned something
If
about
you're-
Moi and some of the things you did
Right.
to try and kick him out. Can you just put context?
Okay,
to
some of them, of course, in solidarity with other students. We demonstrated when Alexander Muge was killed because we knew government was involved. We demonstrated when Robert Ouko was killed. Why did they kill him? I mean, you don't kill somebody we love and we just sit there, let's keep going to class. We'll tell you. And that was our way of blocking roads and so on. I mean, you can't do wrong things and then sit there and imagine we will just, amen, hallelujah. No, we'll smoke you out. So, and I think that is something university students must pick up. They must learn to speak their mind. They're the bastion of ideas. All that knowledge and munakaa hapo tu. So, we want universities alive like they were in Moi's day. And, during Kibaki's time, although Kibaki was more gentlemanly than Moi. So I'm not trying politics. I'm a politician by excellence. In 2013, I ran, yes.
Governorship in Vihiga County?
Yes, and I was going to run in 2017 again. I say honorably lost in 2013 because, of course, you know what goes on in politics in Kenya, a lot of stealing of votes and stuff. So I conceded like a gentleman. And 2017, I was going to run again, but then someone nice was going to run in Vihiga called Wilbur Otichilo. So I put my weight behind him. But that gave me time to begin to prepare to run for president in 2022. So I shut down the station in 2016 and actively began to prepare to run. And in 2022, I ran, except for the useless IEBC that blocked me. Useless. Absolutely captured.